Hey, Max here. Today we're going to update the abilities spreadsheet tier list ranking of it. I added X factors into it since we have so many always on X factors now, whether it's lighted up tokens, just like on the card stock, standard kind of stuff. I'll talk about how I'm using abilities in my defense. I'm off meta both on offense and defense here. Obviously, my Chaos defense is already up on the channel for members. I will update the spread ebook though, since I really haven't touched it since launch, and it's so much more deadly now with how the game is played, beating man, zone, everything, one play touchdowns, etc. We'll go that for members here in a bit, so join the channel if you want that. Otherwise, ability tier list. Okay, let's go through that first, and then I'll show how I'm using it and the cards out there available at the time. No, Gale Sayers getting 3 AP was just for a debut yesterday. That is not what I do long term. And we'll talk about that. I've done like tier ranking the best cards in the game. You can go watch that one here from last week to see that. So let's go through the abilities on offense. There's S tier, A tier. There's a ton of abilities now. It's very confusing and it makes sense. I've used all of them, used them quite a bit, seen them used. I'm pretty familiar with how the game plays. I don't need to justify anything, hopefully. So, S tier. Now, I would say the weakest ones in S tier would probably be the playmakers as of right now, just because I feel like when I say S tier, I feel like they'd be like everywhere almost, but I feel like people aren't utilizing playmaker as much as it should be used. I think in like a man meta, playmaker is not that great because man sticks to playmaker a little bit better than it used to. Playmaker used to be just devastating to man coverage, but it does feel like man is kind of psychic against playmaker with a lot of the reroutes outside of like maybe the one where you reroute it the other way. But otherwise, set feet lead, pass lead elite are almost absolute needs. Like, this is something that if you want to pass the ball in this game in MUT. Now, in regs, it's a little different because there's not as many knockouts. But in MUT, with people running knockouts, deep zone knockouts, you just see some mids, some flats. It's more the deep zones that can play, like, the streak corner combos that, like, are the #1 defeater of a lot of people's, like, cover 3, cover 4 type systems. Without set feet lead, pass lead elite, it becomes very hard to squeeze that ball in there and dang near an impossible task. So those two are absolute musts if you want to pass the ball in the game. Okay? And now obviously some of these things will change around depending on your scheme. Like for example, linchpin. I have it in B tier because I'm a passer. I pass like 75 to 80% of the time. But if you're a runner, linchpin is probably S tier for you. Okay, because it only, like, linchpin is like, it says improves blocking, but if you look at like abilities.fyi, the website, it is run blocking. Okay, and people, you know, can kind of tell you that. Whereas protected is pass blocking, linchpin is the run blocking version of it. And I almost want to put, now that I think about it, I feel like protected is where I should put them like next to each other almost, so it's like similar. Where do I have protected on this list? I can't even see it. Control F. Protected. I got protected a little bit lower. Now, I haven't really utilized protected a lot or enough to really give it that. Like, I know protected doesn't really work that well in like a normal situation. In a normal situation against a 4-man pass rush, against a blitz, protected's kind of like whatever. But I've tried it a little bit against the degenerate, unstoppable forces, Colossuses. And I'm like, does this kind of work? I don't know. So that is something that's new to me. I've run protected a little bit, and I don't know if I noticed a difference at all yet. So I'm going to put it in B tier for now. But overall, it's I would recommend probably not spending on it, depending on how much AP you're putting towards it. So we'll leave it right there in B tier. But in most situations in this game, non-X Factor, against non-X Factor, it's not that good. So with that said, Jukebox, as you know, is the #1 meta-defining play. Juke right once, juke left, juke left, juke right. Get your jukes in this game. Juke is overpowered, especially the taller they are. The further they juke, the better the juke is. And especially, obviously, you want your juke stat to be as high as possible. Or I guess it's called attributes. Evasive is basically just used for jukebox, but the spins are okay. You can get guys to miss on the spin. It's kind of nice. Hot Route Master, it shouldn't even be in the game. Every quarterback should just have Hot Route Master, in my opinion, but it gives you like the best routes in the game, or a lot of them. The posts, the corners. That Hot Route Master is S tier for me. Threat detector. Anytime you can get more information from your opponent, if they're in dollar, you can see if they're sending the edges. Threat detector kind of warped the meta last year. It turned everybody into 3-5 demons. 3-5, not that it's good this year. It's because linebackers can't be seen by it. You're seeing a lot more 6-1 now. If people start going more threat detector, you'll probably see more of that, since 6-1 won't be giving off signals out of threat detector, if my knowledge serves correctly. Gunslinger, because threat detector doesn't work on linebackers. Gunslinger, playmaker, we talked about. Gunslinger, just faster throw motion. It's on the weaker side. It's not as important to these things, but it is nice to have, especially with some of the guys with longer wind-ups. Backyard quarterback is a lot of what playmaker is, so that's up there. Roaming Deadeye. I don't know if you guys have seen any of my TikToks lately on GutFox2, or sorry, YouTube shorts. Getting outside the pocket, whether it's with Patrick Mahomes, whether it's with who else have it? Not Dan Marino. Doug Williams. William Perry was a demon for a long time with that rollout cheese scheme. Roaming Deadeye, and we'll talk about the X factors in a little bit that other people are using this scheme too. But roaming Deadeye, just let go of the right trigger outside the pocket. It's literally been broken since Madden 20. You don't need your feet to be set. You just need to not be holding right trigger when you throw the ball, and it will give you the roaming Deadeye glitch to allow you to throw the ball perfectly accurate. You get your blues. I know a lot of people talk about blues lately and bluing the ball. That's the roaming Deadeye glitch, is getting blues. Otherwise, you could properly time it for your boost twos. Omniscient. Omniscient is identifier plus threat detector. Super overpowered. And the more information you get about the opponent, and you can kind of like get the tells about what they're doing. They click on somebody, you can kind of like tell, okay, they're probably changing this person to this thing. It's insanely overpowered. It's stupid. And that's why, like, Omaha shouldn't be in the game. Seeing the opponents, the fact that Kurt Warner hasn't activated Omaha, or is it Dan Marino? I don't remember. But like, dude, oh my god, dude, Bill Belichick got fined. The Patriots lost first round pick, right? The Steelers lost Super Bowls because the Patriots cheating with this stuff. This shouldn't be in the game. Get it out. Yeah, there's no reason to know what the defense is actually putting out the field. It's the same thing with film study. I don't care, dude. Get it out of the game. Like, people are like, oh, but don't spam the same plays. It's like, I get it to stop the spam, but like, what they should do to stop the spam is actually make the proper counters. Not like, oh, now I know they're gonna be running a post corner, that kind of stuff. I'll put a guy there, lurk. It's just silly. It's dumb. I hate it. Quit it. Get it out of the game. Overpowered, straight BS. Probably the worst things in the game. There's a lot of bad things in this game. Freight train, auto break and first tackle. Not every time, but almost every time. Overpowered. Gambit is very similar to these things, but then you also won't get picked by the CPU. But sometimes you will. They will get picked if they do have pick artists, so I will say that. Blitz Raider, same thing about, I just talked about Omniscient. You can see when they're blitzing. Brick Wall, I kind of put it in S tier. There isn't like an always on brick wall, but like, so brick wall is a better version of agile or anchored extender. The reason why agile and anchored extender are in B tier is the fact that it only works against DBs, whereas brick wall works against everything. So like, a lot of the meta right now is A-gap blitzes from linebacker positions, so you won't be able to break that, and that's why those things are so low. And they were actually broken last year. Like, this didn't even work for a couple years here. But I just went in practice mode to test them. I think they're working in game. I've not used these things this year because most of what I'm getting sacked by is linebackers and whatnot. So anyways, brick wall is like that for everybody, so it's pretty powerful. Vanguard, I just auto knock everybody over, like, especially like you can use that in the house rules right now. It's absurd getting all these decleatings, right? They could one guy can block two guys, put them both on their butt on a single play. It's absolutely like demoralizing the way this thing opens up the run game for the defense. So Vanguard is crazy good. A tier, this tier is kind of like spend it if you want it, right? Whereas like these things are leaning towards like overpowered and like, you know, not necessarily like absolute must need to move the ball on offense, but highly recommend running those. A tier is like, yeah, go ahead and run them, but you can win without it, right? It's really nice, but you can definitely win without it. B tier is like, in the right circumstances, I can definitely see you wanting to run this. I think post up actually, I missed this, and I do want to move this to A tier. All right, so that is something that I want to move up because I am running post ups right now. to deal with the X Factor shenanigans in the game. And we'll talk about that when we get to how I set up my offense. So, a lot of like, identifier apprentices to get the hot route master kind of routes right there. Gift wrapped was S to the beginning of the year because you literally needed to catch the ball. Now it's really to kind of like secure those high point catches. You can catch high points without gift wrapped right now, but the drop there is a dice roll, and you will drop high points at random times with nobody around you without gift wrapped. So make sure they have that. Fearless, I fear, is going to be moving to S tier as more people start to put more under pressure on their defensive lines. We're not. I don't feel like we're quite there yet, but it's borderline. It almost might be S tier and required soon enough. But we really haven't seen a lot of fearless discounts, but that's really needed truly for if your opponent has like the under pressure or the edge threat elite or the what's this one called, fearmonger on their cards going off. Energize is really nice to hook in with jukebox. I actually really like abilities, and there's a big one on defense. It's called double or nothing and edge threat or edge threat elite. Those things stacking. Like, they're kind of like whatever by themselves, but when you stack them together, they become even more powerful. And I hope more abilities down the road, they end up doing this, whereas, like, the combination of them truly makes them and takes them to the next level. Alone, they're kind of like whatever. And that's kind of like the brewing and the ideas and changes and kind of strategy that I kind of want to see out of Mutt and franchise and abilities going forward. So everything else on offense, though, like, they're solid. I like these things. Conductor, I don't know. Conductor might be A tier. With how many offensive line adjustments you need to make now in order to pick up, like, the A gaps and the BS blitzes and stuff, Conductor might be A because I do run out of time, like, I feel like once a game. And have to quick snap something maybe I don't want to. Otherwise, X Factors, it's just... Running gun is roaming Deadeye, but you just hold down right trigger the whole time. Omaha, we talked about how BS that shouldn't be in the game. Freight Train, Gamut, Blitzer. Oh, you talked about those things. Double Me is definitely on the verge of going S tier. My only problem with Double Me is that like I seem to focus on the Double Me player, and like a lot of times the ball gets picked anyways. It's no longer as good as it used to be, saying like Madden 20. Because there's no longer the predetermined animations that we used to be. Guys can basically click on, and you no longer have those like combo animations where double team would just take over and auto win. So you can still outmaneuver your opponent on defense, even if they have double me active, and pick it without getting that animation against you. Escape Artist, it used to be insane in like Madden 22. It was like top tier of S tier. But now that we're in Madden 24, they've nerfed it. It's an X Factor. It does got that auto start on cards like, was it Culpepper or something? Got it? I don't know. And then Dots is nice, but Dots can still get intercepted if they have pick artists and everything. Anything else I want to talk about on offense? There's some solid ones depending on your scheme. They kind of nerfed all of the mid in, mid out, deep in, short. Short in was everything last year. This is the Madden 23 list. Short in was huge because it also included how quickly you broke routes and you beat man coverage with it. This year it didn't include it. It no longer helps you with route running, so short in is dead. It's just basically doing what it says, helps you catch in those areas. But even so, deep out, mid, short, all those knockouts will still override every single offensive one. So I don't think it's really worth grabbing them. Let me know where you guys think I screwed up on this. Human joystick, I might go to B tier. It's like, on old gens it's insane, but on new gen it's kind of like a little bit better, but it's not quite where it needs to be. As far as defense here, we talked about film study being OP. Lurker, and pick artist together for your linebackers literally rejuvenated the entire position in Madden. This is probably the biggest dub they've had in Madden 24, adding lurk artist to the game. Deep out, deep zone, mid zone, flat zone, inside stuff. You could argue inside stuff alone might not be worth it because people can just double team it to deactivate it using the double team ID function, and then it's basically you're running one, it's over. But if you're running more than one inside stuff, it's going to be a lot more effective. You can still run against it, especially if you have secure protectors on offense. Secure protector, if you guys recall from last year, it's also this way this year. Secure protector will shut down inside stuffs. Post-ups will shut down inside stuff also if you get the double team on it. I have post-up. Now, where did I put it? Right here in A tier. Um, Truly some insane stuff on these X factors. If anything, the X factors are higher S tier, and maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I really should have moved everything down a tier, except for film study potentially. Just so Unstoppable Force and Colossus can be together on S tier alone. I might just put them like S plus. I like these things will transform a defense. Let's just go S plus, okay, and then just add these two. I mean, this is these things are crazy, dude. Okay, all right. So Unstoppable Force Colossus. If there's one of them, right? If there's just Unstoppable Force, you can kind of like shift ID, get your double team going on it to slow it down. But when you stack two of them, okay, your opponent then has like maybe a couple options of potentially trying to double team both of them, hoping that maybe their post ups. Here, let me go ahead and put my offense like I normally have it, with activated post ups. Ascending Skaronski, Larry Allen, and they could like if post ups are against them, post ups will win. Post ups are awesome. The problem is you need two offensive linemen to make post up worth it, but if you got two of them, the ball's got to come out, dude. Like the ball is absolutely got to be out of the hand. I use them at two defensive tackle spots. Even though you see my lineup, the defensive tackles at the defensive end spot. That's just for chemistry reasons. My specialist, I run nickel normal, Sap Karloftis. Like it's painful to try and get the ball off in time. You literally have 3 seconds. Okay, the best thing you do is try and scramble out the pocket. Contains. I got double no outsiders out there. I'll talk about that let's talk about the rest of the thing before I get back to my lineup. But it actually makes the pass rush lethal. Madden, and especially with the dollar run through glitch blitz, it's very hard to double team that nose. And then the nose is just like insta shedding. So even if you pick up the play, even if you pick up the A gap, that nose is getting and collapsing the pocket within 2 seconds. Regardless. Yeah, these things are like, because I don't know a counter, Secure Protector you'd hope would be the counter, but it's not. I see like guys running this stuff, and I have Secure Protector tackles, right? You see my Secure Protector tackles. They consistently get put on their back. The best pass blocking chem in the game gets put on his back consistently against these X factors on defense if they have them on the defensive end. It's just silly. It's just silly and a half. I actually might move up blitz here. But we'll talk about that when we get there. But so with the rest of it, knockouts are amazing. I'm actually like, okay, so I said this before Madden 24. I said get rid of all knockouts, get rid of all pass velocity chemistries, and I think the game's in a fine spot. I get why we need knockouts. I get why we need pass lead elite, set feet lead, velocity chems, but I hope next year we don't have them. That's all I'll say. I hate how they dominate and they become everything in this game. Because without them, like, one overshines the other. A tier, deep in. It's just kind of a little bit more restrictive of space than deep out. But it's still nice, though, between the numbers. Strip specialist, you get like cool animations with strip specialist. And a lot of people are just hitting R1 anyways. So like a lot of people run tank or whatever, but I really don't face that many hit stickers. I face a lot of people running to me holding down R1 trying to punch the ball out. So I don't see a lot of that. Out my way is really nice for say like nickels or safety. Like right now, I'm running Derwin James, just came out on the outside. Now I could put Reinforcement, Elevated, Avalanche, both great ones, but I'm already using 3 X Factors, 2 on my D-line, 1 on another Reinforcement on Kevin Byard. But I run like out my way on this card. Out my way for 1 along with every single knockout at corner. So he's my outside. So basically if they want to stretch, and even if Derwin James does get technically blocked by a receiver, he's going to out my way, knock him over, and then potentially be in the way and be able to stop the running back on the outside stretch, whether it's looky, whether it's a bubble, whether it's, anything like that. So it really helps stop that. So I have it at A tier because it's really nice. Tackling Supreme, same way. Get him on the ground. Don't get your tackle broken. Pick artist, just catch the ball. Knockouts, bench press for man coverage. Edge shred elite, but only because it's got pressure, and I only like it when I stack double nothing on top of edge threat elite. That's the only way I'd ever run one of these things, unless they're like 0 AP. If edge threat elite 0 AP, sure, throw it on. There's no downside, but there is a downside to double nothing. You're using 2 pass rush points, so if you get down to like 1 or 0 pass rush points, your guy will fall on the ground with the double nothing chem. So you have to like actually manage your pass rush points with double nothing. Then the X factors, they do what they say, and they're pretty good out there. If anything, maybe dual threat, fearmongerer goes up. Selfless, okay, so selfless is kind of wild. If you guys remember last year, there's that Tom Brady selfless or whatever it was. Or there's some sort of selfless out there that became auto-activating. So selfless is another one of those combo ones because it's crazy. So like we have a Omaha quarterback, but it goes away after a while. Where's that Omaha? Right here. We don't have like a you know how Patrick Mahomes has always on running gun, that kind of stuff. We don't have one Omaha, thankfully, right now. We might get one down the road, sadly. But last year we were able to utilize the selfless to put it on like kickoffs or whatever, to get Omaha activated. I forgot how they did it. That or you could do a Wildcat to get that happening too. Something like that. But anyways, being able to turn on any X factor outside of the constraints of the game at any time with selfless is insanely powerful. The problem is selfless is only good in combination with another ability. Whereas right now, these things are just powerful alone. So that's kind of why it's an A tier versus S tier, is that it needs to be required. You need to use an X factor slot and combo with other things to make it good. B tiers, yeah, the man coverage, one step, inside, outside shade. It's not as good this year. They turn off like route tech, but nobody's really running route tech since man coverage isn't really meta. Man coverage was crazy good to start the year, but then we started getting guys with like over 90 route running, and then we finally are able to get guys getting separation on like just generic routes that should be getting separation in the game. So there's a lot of ways. I do see a little bit of man being run online, and it's still pretty good at times, but a lot of times, whether it's zigs, even though zigs sometimes get covered, zigs, posts, slants, drags get kind of covered decently, especially if they have a fast guy with you on offense. So anyways, that's kind of where I have it. As far as my setup right now, I have 4 deep knockouts, or deep out to deep knockouts. So I got Night Train Lane for 1 deep out. Derwin James is 3 AP for out my way, and then all the knockouts on his side of the field. He basically shuts down the entire side of the field. He's wild. Go take a look at that tic-tac. Or I got Fox 2 short. Jair Brown with deep knockout. So he's a safety that can play deep in or deep out, which is insanely flexible. We also have the same thing in Herb Adderley. Can play either deep in or deep out, because deep knockout is really good. And then I have a lot of mid zone on Herb. So if people are throwing seam streaks at me, the mid zone on Herb will be able to knock that out. Now, I was running him at corner route with a corner the same combo before I got Derwin, because you see a lot of people run like more short corners, and so it doesn't get the 20 yards. So deep out wouldn't be able to knock it out, but that's what the mid zone was there for. It helped a little bit with like the people that run C routes sometimes at a bunch, that kind of thing. So Herb Adderley was really nice for that. And then running Chuck Howley, I have the Super Bowl boost on him. I liked Gronk better. I will say that, because he's taller. But I decided to get rid of my Ghost of Madden team and just go to 70. And Howley's been really nice for me. Now, if you don't have the other ones, this universal coverage on him for the lighted up token is phenomenal. Highly recommend it. It makes him into a demon and a half. But I'm running flat zone and lurk artist on him to kind of get like a portion of universal, but not everything that universal is. Bayard, like I said, I got reinforcement, pick artisan on him. He's my nickel. So if somebody's running that like bubble RPO, what's nice about Bayard is that the reinforcement will run through the block. It doesn't even need to be an impact block. Like Derwin James, my outside guy, but you know, he's kind of on an island and he'll be back, so it will be an impact block that he hits. But the nickel doesn't really get an impact block. So that's why reinforcement the nickel, I like that the best, to defeat the block, maybe potentially even pick the ball. When I had Troy Polamalu here, I had him with pick artist reinforcement, and he was able to get through it and intercept the ball on that bubble. Which was absolutely insane. I have Chase Young with free no outsiders out there. We talked about Karlaftis and Sap being overpowered. And then I have also free no outsiders from Myles Garrett. No Outsiders is good, but it's not as you know, it's kind of like animation locked a lot of times. So like, you know, we always joke about Myles Garrett, like the king of almost plays. Like a lot of times he will shed his block, but then like miss the running back because of that's just like the animation taking too long, and he'll just run past you anyways. But it does you know, jam up things sometimes on those outside runs, which is all I can truly ask for my defensive linemen or my defensive ends. But otherwise, if I had more AP, I'd probably go with an inside stuff or two inside stuffs on my D tackles to help against the run game too. So that's my defensive setup. Offensive, Patrick Mahomes, set feet lead, roaming deadeye. We talked about how the glitch there and how good that is. Backyard quarterback for Hot Rod Master, plus the playmakers, which are insane. So roaming deadeye, gunslinger, set feet lead, and then backyard quarterback lighted up, I feel like is the best combo. Now, I do have an extra token or two because I'm a pay pig, and otherwise I would recommend using your tokens on Karlaftis and Sap instead of on Patrick Mahomes. But right now, you can get other unstoppable forces, so I guess you don't really need to use your tokens anymore since they've added a few more out there as far as this Genki Force promo. I think another card gets Unstoppable Force, right? But there it is. Secure protectors on the outside, post ups in the middle. My receivers have nothing since I don't think they're that powerful. Heath Miller, if I had another, I'll probably end up using his Vanguard again, as that's on to activate at least near like the goal line or like goal to go situations. I will need Vanguard to plow him over. Maybe put him at fullback there, but otherwise running back. Evasive's overpowered, and that's kind of what I'd use there. I'll probably get rid of Gale Sayers here and go back to like Edge with his evasive for 1. But actually, Gale gets it for 1 too, so maybe I'll just stick with Gale. Remove it and go straight evasive on the card. But the Kansas comment. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you got any comments or questions. I'll see you guys over on Twitch with all the content this week. Twitch.tv/GutFox. Bye.